brain behind the whole project? Can you tell us how it all started?
Well, I think there are a lot of people behind this project, but I was the initiator, and it started in my classroom back in 1999 when I was making a transition from being a business leader to a teacher, and I questioned some of the assumptions about how science and math were being taught, and I could see that the students were not very encouraged by the process, and as a business person, I knew that science and math were important, but the reason that science and math are important is because of the reasoning skills. Business people really don't care if students graduating secondary school have a deep knowledge of, the details of frogs or toads or facts. They care if they can think clearly and do analytical thinking and do problem solving. So we started moving what we were teaching our children to something that we thought would be of more value to them when they graduated and also more fun for them to learn. And so we drove the process towards anything that was more problem solving and involved more generalized thinking. And that's 12 years ago or so, 12, 13 years ago. And the results became very powerful where the students in my vocational high school, which is typical students, not high-level math science students, started performing much better than the students throughout the state, to the point where in 2006, I was made the New Jersey State Teacher of the Year, which out of 100,000 teachers there, because the results had reached the point where average students were performing 13 times better. That's 1,300% better than the rest of the state in advanced physics and mathematics. And after that, the Department of Education in New Jersey asked me to find ways of bringing this material to other schools. And we figured out how to do that over the course from 2006 to 2007 or 8. We have our structure in place, and then we've just building it since then. And the net result is that now we're in more than 100 schools, and we're affecting the learning of hundreds of thousands of students. And it's expanded to Argentina, and we're very excited to work in the Gambia, where I must add to what the Permanent Secretary said, the thing that's very impressive to us is how open and flexible Gambian teachers are and how hardworking they and their students are. When we go visit the schools, the students are much more open and willing to work hard than American students. And so we expect it's going to be a great result. And I could add one more thing to that a key part of this is looking at 21st century skills, which really emphasize problem solving and social discourse. The work environment for this century is much more geared towards teams working together to solve open-ended problems. And facts have very much lost their value because of Google and the reality that people can get facts very cheaply now. And so that change has occurred globally. But I think it actually plays in the direction of Gambia, because what I see in the classrooms when I talk to the students is very open social group. And the ability to work in groups is very strong here, stronger than it is in the United States and Europe. And now that the need educationally has moved in the same direction as the fundamental culture of the students I've talked to, and this teaching method is aligned with that, I think it actually will work even better here than it works in the United States, where it's actually working very well.
Is this the first time it is being implemented in Africa? Having trained the second group of the pilot program, how impressed are you?
Well, this is the second training of the same group of teachers. And we're training them in the pedagogy and the technology, curriculum and assessment. So all the pieces have to change together. I'm very impressed. Right now, as we're sitting here, teachers are taking turns in the group teaching the next sections of physics to each other, the next sections of algebra to each other. And our goal is, when we go to the second 12 schools, is to have the teachers from, a group of teachers from the first 12 take the lead role in training the next group of Gambian teachers. And the ultimate goal is that Gambia should be able to become part of the global team of teachers that drives this process. So there'll be equal partners, not waiting for us all the time, but actually being able to drive this forward. And maybe, by the way, even take it to other countries where there's going to be similar need and interest, where Gambia gets looked upon as the source of this breakthrough in terms of math and science education.
My final question would be, what makes this particular innovation different from the older methods?
Well, I was speaking to Fatu about this in the car, and it's the big difference is not so much that each individual piece is new. It's the fact that through the use of technology, we've been able to do many good practices at once so that the sum is much greater than, or the whole is much greater than the sum of the parts. So we simultaneously change the pedagogy, so it's social constructivist and direct instruction, not one or the other. That's made possible by the technology, which has allowed constant student polling. The use of formative assessment, which is very well recognized as a teaching method, but very difficult to implement without technology, is used. Most of the instruction occurs between the students and each other, where the teacher takes the lead role as a guide, but when questions come up to be answered, we rely on the students in the class to answer it. We rely on the students to teach each other what they're missing. And and I think, by the way, that's why I say the culture that I see in the classrooms is very compatible with that. When we've talked, I just came back from teaching some kids at 22nd of July, and they didn't want to leave. Similarly, they want to stay and do more and more math. We were teaching with the teachers yesterday, and they don't want to leave. They just want to learn the next part of the physics. It turns out that using this approach, the level of rigor, how difficult, the challenging of the material can go much higher than before, but it's not painful at all for students. They love it. So being rigorous does not mean being painful, and I think that's a fundamental difference.
Thank you very much for talking to us.
Oh, thank you for the chance.
Mr. Joe, good day. As the Director of Science and Technology at MOPSI, can you tell us how this will impact in the schools?
Thank you very much, Mr. Bass. As already alluded to by both Piers and Bob, it is an initiative that we are very much optimistic that at the end of the day is going to help us improve maths and science, particularly physics in this country. We all went through this chalk and board issue or methodology of teaching, whereby we only recall facts, and those who are very good in recalling and are able to do calculations at the end of the day are the ones that we felt are much better. But this methodology is coming at a time where we are moving, as Bob said, into the 21st century, and Gambia wants to be part of the global world or the global economy. And then we are hopeful that with this new initiative, teachers will be more interested, but also children will come to love the subject because they are seeing it being demonstrated, practicalizing, and coming to be able to relate what they are learning in the classroom to their real life, which has been a gap in our education system. So in a nutshell, I want to say at the end of the day, we hope that the next cohort of maths and physics graduates will be having in our education system will be people who will be able to relate and utilize the knowledge that they have learned in the classroom and use it in their day-to-day life activities. And as a result, learning become meaningful, learning become enjoyable, and then students can begin to teach themselves even in the absence of the teacher. Because if you have seen the approach with the technology it is going along with, after students starting the process, they themselves can lead the process, because that is what we want them to pick up or adopt as a way of learning. Rather than being spoon-fed, they will lead the process.
What aspect of this new approach interests you most?
The most interesting aspect of it is the way that they interact with the material, and the way they themselves are able to look at a particular situation, analyze it, and make deductions out of what they're doing. So at the end of the day, it helps them, like I said, to relate life or learning and real life, which is very important because it helps them to practicalize what they're doing. For example, I can cite a simple, if the question is asked in a class of 40 or 45, every single candidate or student is having a responder. And then immediately, the technology will tell you how many children